Why has this? I know you. I was watching you the other day talking about Matt Walsh and his documentary, the "What Is a Woman" documentary. Why do you think that this simple idea of what a woman is? I think he says, actually alludes to it in the documentary. He says you wouldn't have thought 10 years ago that someone's tweets would have been, what is a woman? What? Why the destruction of women? Why the obliteration of women from society? And why do politicians think it's a vote winner?
Well, the latter question I'll answer last. But as far as what is a woman and why that is such a contentious issue, it just goes back to misogyny and sexism. And I hate to talk like it because then it makes me sound like I'm some sort of helpless victim. And I know that many women are also very much on the what is a woman anyone can identify, as if we sort of reached some bastion of equality and now we can just give it away. But without going into the ins and outs of how women have a different path in this world, I think we all know that we do. Uh, a man can simply identify as one because what are we? We are apparently just men without penises, or sometimes women with penises. But if we were seen as full, complete humans with agency and autonomy, I don't think you could take our language quite so quickly as it's been stolen from us, or given away by other women. So I'm not letting women off the hook here at all. I think there are scandalous levels of privileged women who are just happy to not think about the more vulnerable woman who doesn't want to share her space with a man. And I would say about 90% of women really don't understand that the person that they are going to share a space with could be any man who calls himself a woman. Now, that might be for nefarious reasons. It might just be because they want to do it for a day so they can get into women's spaces. It might be because they're a raging autogynephile and a pervert and just get off in women's spaces. Or it might be because they really couldn't care less about the dignity, privacy, or safety of women and want to use women's spaces. But there's no good man, however he identifies, who wants to use women's private spaces. And as for the
And
politicians and a vote winner, aren't they stupid? It just makes me think that they spend their whole day not talking to people who do normal jobs, tangible, dirty hand jobs. They just look at Twitter and decide that that is actually important people discussing their opinions, as opposed to a small portion of the population talking way too much about things that are ludicrous.
And it is interesting that this idea of women and men, because I can, for example, I very vocally I get upset, mainly I think probably because my history was I was raised by my mum. I mean, my dad worked and stuff, but my mum was my primary carer, so I always thought that I was being raised in a matriarchy, essentially. She called all the shots and everything like that. So I'm a big defender of women, but I don't really get attacked when I point out these obvious things. But women seem to be utterly and totally sat on by men, and that's, again, it's a misogyny thing, just dressed up as compassion and kindness, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you told me right now that you wanted to go and use the women's toilets because you preferred it, everyone would just say that you were a predator and a pervert. If you call yourself Laura, you're stunning and brave, and I'm an evil bigot for saying that you can't go in. I mean, the rape and death threats, I don't actually get that many. Um, I do get some really awful things said about my children. My husband's business has been targeted. Um, it's big, the response, and I think it helps that I'm not on Twitter, so I don't get too many terrible things sent to me over Twitter. But I've had websites, they've put pictures of my kids online. They've put pictures of my children and copied in their schools so people know which school they go to. I do get sent things about like my kids dying of cancer. So it is pretty bad, but it just comes down to misogyny over and over again. And it's not just in this movement. I'm sure you've covered the grooming gang scandals before, and the sort of rape and trafficking of children, predominantly girls. So it is wide reaching. It's horrible to admit it, and it's a really nasty thing when you eventually understand what underpins it. But yeah, women are going along with it, which I find just atrocious, and it's difficult to reconcile.